Hey everyone, it's Professor Lucien, and this is just a brief video just to explain some things I expect, some tips to help you with the reports. I want to talk a little bit about the final exam, and then remind you that you will get points for completing the course survey and submitting evidence of that, like a screenshot or a copy of the email they send you or something like that. They change it all the time, so I never know exactly what to say. So what is the objective of this write-up? There are, basically we had the four original questions. If you remember the original assignment, and it's in its own tab, there are four original questions. And last week, I set off to answer those questions in the presentation I demonstrated. You want to speak to the quality of the data, and you're not. So the answer to that is not it's good or it's bad. It's here's the descriptives, here's the distribution. These are the outliers and why they were removed. So it's speaking to quality aspects of the data set through those three steps we took. Okay, so just clarify that. You're going to speak to the performance of the safety program. That's when we trended and forecasted using the policy year as the basis, and then forecast it out to 2024. Why is that important? Because the experience modification rating, which is multiplied against something we really can't control, because the base premium, the initial premium is based on the I'm sorry, what am I thinking? The payroll. It's the payroll divided by 100 multiplied by the policy class or the class code. Remember those rates we looked up, WCRB? So that's calculated. Each company, they have workers who have certain, class codes, and there's a rate that's assigned, and they submit what the payroll is for that group. They divide it by 100, multiply those two things together, and add it up for everybody at the company. Boom, there's your base premium. Okay? Not much we can do about that, right? But what we can do is we can affect the performance of the safety program, the number of claims, whether the claims are medical only or indemnified. And in doing so, we can get that EMR below 1, and that is savings. That's where you get savings from, okay? That's what it's all about. That's the performance of the safety program. We want to see a continual decline. And how do we achieve that? We achieve that by engaging the workers and supervisors to understanding safety from their perspective, and then we can take that perspective to management to explain to them what we can do so they can be effective in their jobs, minimize the risk, and hopefully elicit satisfaction from the work they do. So that's why we're studying the performance of the safety program. Now, the next question is, how do we improve it? Well, that's why we broke things down by site, by class code, by cause, and then detailed cause, but it wasn't as good. And then we looked at it with and without outliers. We for each one of those breakdowns, we calculated a risk priority number, and we rank ordered based on highest to lowest. And then we performed the Pareto analysis to determine where the cutoff point would be for those priorities. And then we took it a step further. We then narrowed it to a site and a class code and a cause. And we came up with 9 recommendations, 9 priorities that we'd like to focus on. Some are similar, some are not. And we compared those to the outliers removed. And then we forecasted the losses in those 9 priorities. We compared it both from site and overall to what those forecasts were, to demonstrate how important it is that we focus on these 9 areas, and how conservative our estimates are, and how much we're asking for given a 25% ROI or return on investment. And that's the sale. That's the sales pitch. That we're going to invest this money into truly engaging the workers at a level we've never seen before. And we're going to talk to supervisors and bring in their insights and their opinions and their ideas. And we're going to perform root cause analyses, a really in-depth study of these jobs to really understand where, what don't we understand? Why are people being exposed to things that are leading to these claims? And also, what can we do with managing these claims so that they remain medical only? Because we know then the amount that's actually paid in benefits for that claim is only put in at a 30% towards the EMR calculation, right? And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're going to do with that money. And we're going to come up with solutions. And we now have a cap on what that might cost. So we know what we can use, and we need to be innovative. Okay? Because those are always better if you build them from within. So that's what it's about. That's what this is all about. You need to demonstrate your trustworthiness by by the language you use, the sources you reference, sort of the concepts you share, and the positivity you bring to your presentation. That makes you trustworthy. You sell the opportunity in a positive way. This is a great opportunity. That this is where we are right now, but the EMR can go down if we can reduce these things, and in a couple years we could see 10% plus return on that. And then tell management what they need to do, beyond investment. Do we need them to support our approach, this change, this engagement, because it's so vital to making everything work? So that's what I'm gonna let you do. This assignment is a little bit different. You probably missed this when I had covered it when I initially kicked it off, but the undergraduates, the ones who are in Safety 43, you only need to write the executive summary. You do not need to write the technical report. I'm also not asking for the planning document like I did in the two previous, because I was just not very satisfied with that. So I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. But for the undergrads, you only have to write an executive summary. And I'd like it to be a max of 3 pages. I typically put a limit of 2 pages on my executive summaries. I'm putting 3 pages on this one. So you got to keep it under 3 pages. So for undergrads, cover page, 3 pages. I would appreciate it if you made a reference to one of the articles we had reviewed in this course to support some of your contentions. I'm not requiring it though, because I'm trying to keep it simple for you guys. The graduate students, on the other hand, and there's going to be a trade-off here, just so you guys know. The graduate students need to write a full technical report. The technical report is similar to the layout of which you guys had to review for the second writing project, which was the executive summary, where I had reviewed OSHA log data, but this is work comp claim data. Okay. And so for the graduate students, you need to write one that has an intro, methods, results, recommendations, limitations, a reference section. If you want to do appendices, you can, you don't have to. But I do want you to reference some of the materials we reviewed this semester as support. So yours has to show the support. I'll talk about some of these other things in a moment. You do need to use tables and figures to demonstrate your results. Anybody who just turns in something that has just text, you're going to lose a lot of points. You have to demonstrate. That's where you get a lot of the trustworthiness from. It's being able to present what the results really are, and then in a professional way. That's why I've been focusing on it so much through the last 6 weeks in the weekly progress. You need to explain why management should invest. You must. Nobody knows what the solution is yet. Let me restate that. Nobody knows what the solution is because you haven't spoken to a single worker. You haven't spoken with a single supervisor. You haven't done a single job hazard analysis or job safety analysis. You haven't done any of that. So you don't know what a solution is. You have no idea. And that's part of the discipline with this, is that we will find out what it is. In the real world, you can go find out what it is and then make the recommendation, and everything is like more complete. In this project, we don't know because we haven't talked to anybody, can't observe anything. We're just doing the numbers. But that's what you need to do. If anybody says, well, we need to focus on at Poinet on this class code 3076 and their manual material handling, and what we need to do is we need to do better training. If you do that, I'm taking points off because you have no support for that recommendation, none whatsoever. Training at its best augments how someone might understand something and may provide a slight boost in motivation. That's about it. We need to redesign things, change things. Training may be supplemental of that approach, but it's not the main thrust for improvement. Anybody who thinks that is wrong. Training should be part of something else and not a standalone solution. Even though OSHA requires it, they don't understand it either. Okay, so the technical report expectation. This is for the grad students only. Similar layout to the technical report of the other executive summary. Begin with justification, context, scope, and for the study, and I provide you with some insights here. So the introduction, justification, to improve safety, reduce costs. Context, work system design, root cause analysis. The scope is using work comp data as a way to tease out or narrow to where investment and attention should be focused. The assumption is that, workers, their behaviors and decision-making is predicated on the work system factors. When there is an imbalance, it places the onus on them to react to that, to mitigate what those risks might be. When there's too much of a discrepancy in that, or if the worker doesn't fully appreciate or understand that discrepancy, that puts them proximal to the deficiency, and therefore they get hurt. That's the systems approach. I had talked about that way earlier in the semester. It's all coming back to us. Okay? The comp data, so that what that does is that tells us where these discrepancies are either occurring, whether they're non-persistent or temporal in nature, or just where they tend to exist within the design of the work. That's the basic principle. And then the study objectives are the 4 questions. You also need to provide a background, and that's where you're going to write about workers' compensation. This is where you basically, this is the trade-off. So you're writing this technical report. You're going to talk about workers' compensation, what it is, how the premiums are calculated, how safety program can reduce by reducing how cost can be reduced by reducing the MR, and how safety program reduces the MR. Explain how claims are filed, how claim management and worker engagement reduce lost time, things like that. All the things we had kind of covered in those lectures, and then you could look things up on the DWD website, the WCRB website. You could borrow from NCCI, things like that. Reference them, please. And so that, how long should that be? You guys are probably saying, I'd really like that to be minimum 5 pages explaining work comp. There's plenty to talk about, okay? Bring in figures, bring in, pictures, things like that. Make it look good. Explain to management what this is all about. And, having them understand sort of the systems approach to things. What was the systems approach paper? Trying to remember who it was. Revit was the ratios, right? Who was systems approach? I think Holden did some systems, but that was human factors or human error. I should know it off the top of my head, but I don't. But you look back, talk about that stuff. So at the beginning of the semester, that's what really builds up that background. And then you identify the 4 study questions. And just like an early assignment, everything I've been doing all along here has been talking about selling this idea to management. And we had a lecture where we talked about selling ideas, persuading people. So go ahead and bring it all in. And that's the introduction. The methods and results. Once you lay out the study objective, the methods and results are also laid out. If you had me for research methods, you kind of know this, that the methods go through the steps, the major steps in the Excel work. Kind of just describe it. You don't have to provide details like I typed in equal sum if, blah, blah. You don't have to do that. Just you just generally explain. Descriptive statistics were calculated. And a distribution was made. That's where you do the quality stuff. When it gets into the other stuff, the data set was sorted by policy year. You explain that. And that number of claims and the benefits paid amounts were all determined, and the average cost per claim, and determined the number of open and closed and reopen. Because just look back at your stuff and just kind of very simply explain it. You don't have to explain in detail how it was done. Just kind of explain in general how it was done. Then your results section follows that basic format. That, okay, for determining the quality of the data, these are the results. For determining the presentation rate, these are the results. For narrowing to focus on, these are the results. To narrow, and just you don't have to show everything, just the main stuff. Okay, mostly like what we've been doing for each weekly update, and then the conclusions references where you kind of get to go off and explain that this great opportunity that investing this money. It's very how conservative it is and how it affects, how the safety program affects the EMR, going back to things you had sort of presented at the beginning. And that the key here is deeper study of the work system, engaging the workers to really get their input, because they're the ones who are always out there, and supervisors who are always out there, and they can do further observations and corrections when we're not around, and we need to improve our data storage. I mean, I found in that video, I found out that something that should have been listed as a cut, puncture, scrape, or an accidental laceration was coded as combative, and that just, oh man, that needs to be corrected. The data needs to be good. It's garbage in, garbage out. If the data going in is not good and verified, then anything that comes out of it isn't trustworthy. All right. So for the executive summary, everybody has to write this. For the grad students, write your technical report first and then write the executive summary second. Though your presentation you guys are putting together is pretty much a visual, verbal example of the executive summary. So when I give you feedback on your executive summary presentations or just your presentations, that should help. So max of 3 pages, be specific, stick to the facts. Management needs to trust you and agree to invest. Use tables and figures to demonstrate and teach, and then you must justify the investment to management. I did an AI question here. You know, we're not supposed to use AI, but I wanted to see what would happen. And they pretty much hit the mark. Is they said between 1 to 5 pages. I'm saying 3. Be clear. Know your audience. Should be understandable on its own. That's so good. Advanced organizer, prepare readers for the upcoming content. Sure, by hitting key points. Yes. Introductory paragraph is very important. That sets up it solves their problem. I mean, I also said use figures and tables. You don't have to worry about the white space. Financial projections, business overview, funding. So you guys, this AI of, an executive summary layout pretty much hits exactly. Well, it's because this is what business wants you to be able to do. Summarize your work into few pages so they can read and understand it and apply it. But then you have the technical report as sort of a legacy document so that others can pick it up and replicate it or do tweaks or corrections as they, take on your responsibility because you've been promoted. So, quick review, everybody. For your work, do not write in first person. Keep it objective. Remove all I, me, we. Just explain what was done, but not in an I, me, we, thing. I take off points for that. Proofread it. Read it, and read it again. I know several of you going to turn in your first draft, and I'll know, and you're going to lose points for that. Make sure you submit a PDF. Why? Because when you guys submit a Word document and you haven't locked in the margins and the spacing and stuff, and things get all kitty wonkus, and then the presentation's bad. You try to do that in the real world, and they won't even read it. So you've lost before you've even begun. So, save it as a PDF, look through it, make sure it's all right. I've saved things as PDF, and they had to go back and change the word and resave it again and again and again until I get it right. And I know that the PDF, when they open it, will look like the way I want it to look. Presentation work is very important. Can't stress that enough. Grad students, you're writing a technical report and an executive summary. So you have title page, executive summary, technical report. Undergrads, you have cover page, executive summary, technical report. Undergrads, you have cover page, executive summary. Okay, that's it. Now, I told you there's a trade-off. Graduate students, you do not need to take the final exam as long as you provide a decent background on workers' compensation and explain the study accurately. You do not have to take the final exam if you do that. So put in the time. Undergrads are required to take the final exam because they're not writing the technical report. Okay? So, grads, you do not have to take the final exam, and you don't have to take the final exam. You have to write a longer paper. You got to write the technical report. For undergrads only. And if any graduate students do not put in the time to, fully write the background and a good intro, it's going to be posted Sunday morning, December 8th. It's the same day that the papers due. Your final exam is then due by December 13th at midnight. So you have 5 days to work on it. It's in 2 parts. Each part is 50 points. One is essay questions. There are 15 questions based on lecture content. For problem solving, there's about 20 questions, and I'm going to tweak it a little bit, but it's still worth 50 points. So 100 points total. The problem solving is OSHA record keeping, a comparison of incidence rates and ratios to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, similar to what we did with the midterm. Then the second part of it is going to be, actually a majority of it. It's not half and half. A majority of it is going to be the work comp and loss run data analysis and interpretation of results. So you're going to be doing actual problem solving, but not in Excel, using a calculator or whatever. So for the final exam, here's my expectations. You have to do your own work, no AI. You also have to work alone. This is not a team or partner project. I want your own work. You may use course materials to help you, but if you do, and I want you to, reference them. So where you got the answer from, where you got the concept from. Take as much time as you need, all right? It's a sort of a take-home. It's not a open up the quiz thing and you only have so much time. This is like a take-home exam. use your resources, but you have to do it alone and no AI. That's really the only rule. Again, take as much time as you need. The last thing I wanted to bring up is UW Whitewater does a course survey, and they've really hounded on the faculty to get as high of a response rate as possible. So everyone should have received an email to their, a notice to their UW Whitewater email. You should receive one for all the classes you're in. What I need you to do is complete it and then upload a screenshot or provide some form of evidence that you completed it, and then I'll award you the points. It's due by December 7th. That is a Saturday, but it's usually like noon. Please try to do it by the 6th, just to be safe, okay? Don't wait till the very end. So other than that, here's the layout. So here we're in the last week of the semester. This is the video that I'm recording right now. Here are the videos in which I interviewed 2 experts in the field. You're going to want to know who they are. And then some of their written work. You do not have to do a quiz or a binder this week. This is all for your enjoyment, and I think you will enjoy it. Upload your paper. So for, again, undergrads, it's just the executive summary. For grads, it's executive summary and technical report. Please upload evidence of your you've completed the survey here. So that's due by the 8th. That's due by the 7th. But again, I think it's earlier in the day. So try to do it by Friday. That's my recommendation. And then on Sunday, I will open up this final tab. But graduate students, once you've submitted this stuff, you're all done. Congratulations. All right, if anybody has any questions, please reach out to me. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to meeting some of you for your presentations this week. Take care.